Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining and welcome to this month's Connect with Control M. My name is Ruben Villa, and I'm a TSA based in the America Support Control M team. Today, we will be talking about the new scheduling features in version 9.0.18. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce today's panelists, Hugo Arguello and Richard Talbert. Now, let's take a look to the agenda. First, we will discuss the scenario. Then, we will be talking about the solution for this requirement. Next is the demonstration. Here, we will show how to use the new features in version 9.0.18 to solve this requirement. Then, we will do a little recap, and we will be finishing with a Q&A session. But before we get going through, let's post the first poll question, so please take a second to answer. Which version of Control M are you using? Don't forget to exit full screen mode with escape if you need to. Now, let's see the scenario. On this scenario, the business is requiring to have a backup application running in Control M, but they have some special requirements. They have to run this backup every 2 minutes, and if something fails in the creation of the backup, then we will have to stop all the submissions inside this application. The backup file name will be changing during the days or during the day. So every time that the business is requiring to submit this application, we will have to check the value of some variables. The application must be easy to handle respective the cyclic intervals, as they may change as well, and this cannot take too much time to be implemented. The solution for this requirement are the new scheduling features in version 9.0.18. These are cyclic folders and folder and variable simulation. Now the smart folders can be defined as cyclic with the same option to be rerun as a regular job. With this, all the jobs inside the smart folder are treated as a single entity. This means that all the jobs in the smart folder will be rerun according with the interval settings defined for the cyclic folder. The end folder option is to give you the opportunity to have more than one logical end in your job flow, so you can decide when all the submissions will be stopped on your smart folder. And finally, we have the variable simulation. With this option, you also have the chance to see the value of the variable in the planning domain. In other words, we are going to resolve the variable and we are going to print the real value in the planning domain during the job definition. Now, with these new features, we are eliminating the unnecessary extra jobs to solve this scenario. We are also going to save time using the variable simulation by not having the necessity to have any extra submissions to see how the variable is going to be resolved in a regular job or in your real flow. And also, you don't have the necessity to go to the Control M server and execute the CTM bar utility to see how the variable is going to be resolved. And with the end folder, we are simplifying the complexity of your job flows by having more than one logical end. So now you can decide when the submissions are going to stop. If you reach one level of your flow or your application, you can stop all the submissions. We are going to jump to the demonstration, but first, let's see the results of the poll. The question was, which version of Control M are you using? It seems that most of the attendees are using version 9. Some of them are using version 7 as well. I would like to remind to the customers that are using version 7 that this is overall support, and we strongly recommend you to upgrade to the latest version, that is version 9.0.18. And as well, these new features, Cyclic Folder, and Folder, and variable simulation are only available for version 9.0.18. Here, we have created a little application to solve the business scenario. We call it backup underscore app. As you can see here, this is a smart folder with this icon. But as well, this smart folder has a new icon here that is the cyclic icon that was belonging only to the jobs. With the version 9.0.18, this is available for the smart folders. If I go to the scheduling tab, you will see that these smart folders have the rerun settings. If I click on set, you also will see that we have the same options as any regular job. So you can be very specific or have some intervals, like on this scenario, every 2 minutes for the application to be executed, or you can use specific times to run the application at 1 p.m., 5 p.m., or 10 p.m. Now, what this means for the jobs inside the folder that now is a cyclic folder. Well, these jobs will be treated as a single entity. So this means that on each single cycle, the smart folder, and now the cyclic folder, is going to execute these all jobs at the same time. Now, you can play with the conditions to have your job flow as you're requiring it. So when the smart folder is going to execute this job, it will start from the beginning. If you have separate jobs, it will start the jobs right away. And as well, you will see that we have a new icon, a new image here. This is the end folder on job completion. This is a new option in the version 9.0.18 for the jobs. If I go to the General tab, you will see that this option is right here, end folder on job completion. But what does this mean? Well, in this job flow that we have for this application, you see that we have two branches, one to the left and one to the right. The last jobs on this have this option, end folder on job completion. When this job finish the execution, it will stop all the submissions inside the cyclic folder or the smart folder. When it's a cyclic folder and the end folder is reached, the end folder job, it will stop all the submissions. It will change the status to all the jobs to be rescheduled for the next execution time. And then the cyclic folder will execute these jobs again. As you can see here, we have more than one logical end with this job flow. And as well, the business is requiring from us to have the ability to see the values of the variables. We can do this in the last versions with the CTM bar utility going to the control M server. And we can do this also by having extra executions on your environment to see how the variables are going to be resolved. But now, with the version 9.0.18, we have a new option. Let me drag these columns here. Here is the variable part of the job. As you can see here, we have defined a local variable, called it backup file, and the value is a global variable right here. So, as I was saying, the only way to see this in the old versions is by going to the control M server or having an extra execution. Here, we have a new button, Open Variable Simulation window. If I click here, this window will open, and we will have the same information regarding the name of the variable and the original name. But now, we also are seeing the value of these variables. So now we can see how the variable is going to be resolved in real time before having any executions. This is for the variable section. But as well, we have it in the command line. So if you have a very complex command line to have multiple commands, and then you are calling a variable from Control M, you would like to see how this variable is going to be resolved so you will not have any errors during your executions. As you can see here, we have the original command line, and now how the variable is going to be resolved. Now, with the cyclic folder, end folder, and variable simulation, we are resolving the scenario for 2 days. We are having all the executions inside the cyclic folder. We don't have to do any extra maintenance on the jobs. We don't have to create any extra jobs to start the job flow. With the end folder option, we have more than one logical end, and then is the variable simulation, where we can see from this point, when you are defining the jobs, how the variable is going to be resolved, if you have it right or if you have to change anything before the submissions. But this is the planning domain. Let's see how this works in the monitoring domain. Let me order this application. The order request has been successfully. Let me go to the monitoring domain. And now we can see that the backup application is running. So, like any regular smart folder, the folder will change the status to be executing. Then the jobs inside the smart folder are going to be executed. As we can see here, are changing the status from yellow to green, and are finishing. Now that we are reaching the end folder job, you will see that the jobs are changing the status again to gray, to be executed again. If we pay attention to this job, and if we go to the job log, we will see that we have the same lines as before: ordered, submitted, ended, and then post-processed. And now we have this end folder line. The end folder has been performed. The folder backup _ app is marked to be completed. Now this job is sending the request to the smart folder to be marked as completed. So this means that the folder will change the status from executing to end that execution for that time. Right now we have a cyclic folder, but if this wasn't a smart folder, you will see that the status of the smart folder will change from yellow to green or red, depending on the last execution of the last job. And as well, on this job log, you will see that we have this wait for rerun, because the folder is a cyclic folder and the jobs are going to be executed again. And now the jobs are waiting for the scheduling time for the cyclic folder. And all of this is the end folder on job completion. As well, the cyclic folder has some special tasks regarding the conditions. As you can see here, this is a very simple job flow. If we open the properties of this job, you will see that it's waiting for a condition, a regular condition right here. And in the Actions tab, you will see that it's adding a condition as well. But as you can see here, we are not deleting any conditions. The best practices regarding the conditions says that we have to delete the condition after that we finish or the job has finished to be executed, because we don't want to lose the integrity of the next job flow in the future. If you are using static conditions and you have this application running all days and you don't delete the conditions, then the integrity will get lost. With the cyclic folders, the conditions added between the jobs in the Actions tab regarding the out conditions are going to be deleted. So that's why we are not sending, or we don't have the job defined to delete these conditions. The cyclic folder, before each execution, is going to delete these conditions just before it starts executing, don't lose the integrity of your flow. But as I told you, it has some tasks and it has some things that doesn't do regarding the conditions. As you can see here on this job for the general review, this is marked as dotted. If I open the properties here, you will see that this condition is added through the undo actions. When the job ended not okay, add the condition. Well, the cyclic folder is not going to delete the conditions added with the undo action. So that's why this job here has the request to delete the condition after it finishes. Now, we are seeing how the application is working, and we are solving all the requirements from the application. Let me get back to the screen share here. And we will see how the application works as well when the job ended not okay. As you know, one requirement from the business was that if something fails, we have to do a general review, and then we will have to stop all the submissions. Before, we will have to create some extra jobs regarding this. We will have to maybe create some conditions extra or some special things to stop all the submissions. With the end folder option, we have that opportunity here on version 9.0.18. So now the application is running again. I will wait for this execution to be ended to have a failure on the first job and see how the flow goes on. If we wait a few seconds, we will see it. Now, the conditions are handled by the smart folder, the cyclic folder, as we talked before, right? Here, I'm going to hold the job. I'm going to open the properties. I'm going to change the command here to have a failure. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to free it. So the last executions of these jobs were successful, and everything is working fine, and everything is working well. But if something fails, we have to stop all the submissions as well. And as we have the same option in the general review job as the remove backup job, we will see how this will stop all the submissions from all the jobs. So if you have any extra jobs outside your flow, these jobs will not be able to be submitted because the cyclic folder will send the signal to them that they are not able to execute. With this cyclic folder and variable simulation, we are solving all the requirements from the business. Now, before we jump back to the presentation, let's ask the second poll question. Which of these new features are you likely to use? Now, let me continue with the slides. Here we have a little recap of what we have seen. The cyclic folders, the end folder, and the variable simulation. Now, remember that the cyclic folder has to be on the smart folder, and then you can change the rerun settings. Remember that all the jobs inside the smart folder will be treated as a single entity. So this means that all the jobs are going to be executed again on each cycle, all the jobs. With the end folder, you have more than one logical end on your job flows. And the variable simulation is helping you to save time by not having the necessity to go to the control room server, using the CTM bar utility, and to not having any extra submissions of your jobs to see how these are going to be resolved regarding the variables. Remember that we have the attachments tab where you will see various useful information regarding the job scheduling techniques, variables, smart folders, calendars, and all the things that can help you with the business requirements on your company. Now, let's see the responses for the last question. Which of the new scheduling features are you most likely to use? You're answering that you will be using cyclic folders, end folder, and variable simulation. And yeah, these are good answers because, as you can see here, regarding this little business requirement, that was a little example, you see how we resolve this by not having the necessity to add any new jobs or to lose any extra time by, for example, for the variables. So if you start to using this, you will see how this can be very helpful for you. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to attend this webinar. We hope that the information provided is helpful. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and our past webinars can be viewed on the YouTube channel and iTunes.